Hey, what's happening? Before we jump into the show, I wanted to see if you had any music on a hard drive. You have a band, you have a project, and you want to self-release your own music. Well, there's an easy way to do it. You can go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate and go get your music up on all the streamers. You keep 100% of your royalties, and you can get 30% off by using this code. It's a great, easy way to get your music up on the streamers and share it with your fans, your friends, your family, your mom, your dog, everybody. Everyone wants to hear it. But go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate, HYPHENATE, and send me the link. I want to hear it too. Send your mom the link. Send your dog the link. They all want to hear it too. We'd like to thank our sponsor, iZotope, the absolute leaders in intuitively designed plugins for audio restoration, mixing, and mastering. At iZotope.com, you'll find a plethora of tools and suites that will enhance your audio production, whether it's voice, video, podcast, or a full production recording session. Check out the industry-standard audio repair tool, RX11, or the multi-tool mixer plugin, Neutron 5, or the powerful Ozone 11 mastering suite, plus tons more. Go to iZotope.com and use the code FRET10 at checkout for 10% off. That's FRET10 to get 10% off at checkout. And again, the website is iZotope.com, IZOTOPE.com.
When like-minded people come together and they create a party, right? It's the ultimate anarchist event. There's definitely a way to look at these Monday nights from like a party scene aspect, and I won't deny they are a party scene, but it was a party scene with like maybe like a deeper dimension to it. It was an anarchist zone too, you know, impervious to rules and of the outside world.
What's happening? Thank you so much for tuning in to Hyphenate with me, your host, Randy Randall. As you heard there on the top, we are interrupting our regularly scheduled Smell Month in order to bring you an emergency dispatch from Monday nights via Sean Carnage, which I think is only appropriate because Sean and his crew helped fill in the DIY creative weirdo out there party scene and brought some much needed dance music and diversity to the LA DIY art space scene with his Monday night events that started out at Il Corral and then went to Pear Space. And it's fun. It's fun talking with Sean and joining us on this call also are DJ Liz O and Kyle Mabson to discuss these Sean Carnage Monday nights. But Sean said that when he first arrived in Los Angeles, the Smell had temporarily been closed, or it was first open and then quickly closed from that 2002 to 2003 era that we've talked about on this time when there was fire marshal and ADA accessibility, that permits had to get filed. The Smell had become popular enough or well known enough that it was on the city inspectors list and subsequently was shut down for about a year. And that's when shows got moved to impromptu DIY spaces like Dean's Squat in Hollywood and many other places like Il Corral and Pear Space. So, yeah, this is an interesting time. We're going to bump out Smell Month one more week and present to you this great check-in with Sean Carnage and representing another sort of piece of the LA early aughts DIY scene. Sean was very cool and has a great art show up that's right now. And if you're in Los Angeles, you can go see Sean's art show. It's got tons of photos, tons of flyers from all the shows that he did. You can also purchase a catalog if you're not in Los Angeles. There's a link down in the show description. If you go to SeanCarnage.com, that's SeanCarnage.com, you can go there and purchase the Monday Nights catalog. It's $45. It's awesome. It's 125 pages, full color. It's got, it's a limited edition of only 350 printed, but it's the thing that he's here to promote and he wants everyone to go check out. So go to SeanCarnage.com, and then in the shop, you can find the Monday Nights catalog, and it's got all the great photos and flyers and write-ups about everything we talk about here. But if you want to experience it for yourself, if you can't come to the art show, or even if you can come to the art show, definitely go to the art show down in Chinatown this weekend, and maybe next weekend if you're still there. There's great deals on the big photo prints that they printed out there, and you can pick up a catalog for yourself. But go to SeanCarnage.com, buy yourself a great catalog of the Monday nights, of all the craziness, all of those sweaty mid-aughts to the teens. What do they call it? From the LA scene of the century, 2005 to 2016. And there's a great photo of Shannon, my wife, of her band. It's in there too. So it was a lot of fun. I really appreciate Sean and Lizzo and Kyle Mabson taking the time to talk about this. And next week we will join our regularly scheduled Smell retrospective look back with Dean Spunt. But I had to bump him this week in order to talk about Monday Nights and Sean Carnage. And yeah, go see the art show. Go grab yourself a catalog, SeanCarnage.com, and enjoy this discussion. Hey. All right. Sean, Liz, Kyle, thanks so much for coming on the Hyphenate podcast. It's great to see you all. I saw Sean and Kyle. I saw you at the art gallery. What tell me a little bit about the art show and just kind of where things are at. It was a big fun. It felt like a college reunion.
Yeah, college or high school reunion of music scene weirdos from 2005. It's called Monday Nights, LA's Scene of the Century, 2005 to 2016. It's also the name of the sort of booklet that we've put out to commemorate that time in LA
no
DIY
understatement
when
there.
we were
The Scene of the Century.
Right,
Just call it, plant the flag.
Just planting the flag. Totally. You understand what we're doing there. And, just commemorate that time in the early aughties or naughties, whatever you want to call them, when sort of, all the rules kind of changed. And there was this beautiful music scene in LA that kind of took advantage of this whole new frontier that opened up with music. Yeah.
Well, I want to talk all about it and get into all the nooks and crannies. But Liz, tell me about your involvement and kind of where are you as part of this puzzle?
So I started I think it was still during lockdown. I had interviewed Sean. I went to Monday Nights and covered it at the time, like multiple times for LA Weekly during the course. So I'd interviewed Sean during the pandemic. I had wanted to do a retrospective story on Monday Nights, pitched it around to a bunch of places. Nothing ever came out of it. Somebody almost took the story, but then the editors changed. So I was talking to Chelsea at Layman Space and about that period in time, and was like, hey, an exhibition would be kind of cool. And Chelsea was like super into it. And I asked Sean, and Sean was into it. We met with Chelsea, and it just kind of like came from there.
Great. So you were involved in documenting that everything that was going on, and then putting together in this contemporary time, putting together the art show that happened.
Yeah, I co-curated it.
Amazing. Okay, cool. And then Kyle, where do you fit into to all of this? I mean, I know it's some personal experiences, but I want to hear it from you. How does this all work?
I'm just chilling. I was here, and then both of them talked to me about this thing, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember those times. And then Sean asked me to like DJ the opening of the show and stuff, and I was like, yeah, of course. And it was, I hadn't really seen or been involved with much of the process of getting everything together, so it was very I guess it was weird, like rolling up in there and being like, oh, like half of this shit is me. Okay, cool.
That sounds about right. Yeah. So Sean, tell me a little bit about like Monday nights and sort of how did you get started in all this? And maybe give me a little bit of background of your biography and sort of what, like, bring me up to speed on how you first sort of became part of the music scene in Los Angeles. Where do you come from?
Yeah. So maybe before I get to that, I'll just realize we haven't really introduced Monday nights. Monday nights was the concert series that I hosted. I co-founded it with a guy named John San Nicolas. Kyle was a huge part of it. He can explain how he came to be involved, but he was our DJ basically for 98% of the shows or something like that. Crazy. We did over 500 consecutive shows in art galleries every Monday night. And it was the best of the cutting edge. So we were booking every genre of music, which was very in line with those times. Like I said, no rules. There were all these MP3 blogs, and the old sort of order of the 20th century was kind of breaking down. And so, it was not unusual to have like a techno band and a rock band. That was a stretch for me. My involvement in music goes back to the late 1980s. I moved to Cleveland, Ohio in 1990, but even before moving there from Erie, Pennsylvania, I was going to Cleveland to see shows. And these were mainly like grunge shows, right? And also sort of classic punk bands like, the Cramps and things like that.
This is in Cincinnati.
Cleveland.
In Cleveland.
Cleveland, Ohio. Okay. Cleveland rocks.
Oh yeah.
Maybe you've heard about it.
Oh yeah. No, I've played many great shows in Cleveland.
And, Drew Carey, Clevo, or Clevo.
There's the big ballroom there. What's the big ballroom was sort of the epicenter of many things. Why am I spacing on the name? It's not Crystal. What's it called?
It's called it's over on Waterloo over there. It's called why can't I think of it? It actually opened right as I was leaving.
Okay. So it wasn't really part of your scene. Yeah. Well, I know.
Yeah.
As venues are apt to do, the opening.
Yeah, Beachland Ballroom.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's the big venue.
Yeah, Beachland is awesome. That's run by Cindy Barber, and she's an amazing lady. She was the editor of the Cleveland Free Times for most of the years that I lived there, and then toward the end, she got out of the publications game. I'm also a renegade from publications. I moved to Cleveland in 1990 to go to Case Western Reserve, but I dropped out pretty soon thereafter because I was just so excited to work. I was a desktop publishing expert. At 18 years old, I went to an Apple high school where they gave us all Macintoshes, so I knew how to do that. And I went to work with my friend, and we did this magazine called U.S. Rocker, which was Northeast Ohio's #1 free music monthly, 10,000 copies, 11 times a year. We put out 110 issues from 1989 to 1998. Toward the end, I also ran a recording studio out of my house called The Invisible City. And I hung out at this, I went from being into heavy metal and punk and grunge, to being more into DIY, underground, experimental, and noise at this place called Speak in Tongues, which was like an equivalent to Jabberjaw in New York. It was one of those many like punk dump / DIY outposts that popped up in the 1990s and early 2000s. When Speak in Tongues closed in 2002, I moved to Los Angeles to work for Larry Flint and at Hustler, and again, another publication. And that's how I ended up here. And I wanted to bring that DIY ethos that I had experienced in Cleveland to LA. Now that probably sounds ridiculous because you've been really involved with the smell, right? There already was a DIY influence here, but when I moved here, the smell was closed, and it was closed.
What year was this?
For 2.5 years when I first moved here.
Oh,
it was when I visited LA in 2002, it was open, but when I moved here in spring of 2002, but I moved here in fall of 2002, it was closed, and it remained closed, I believe, through the end of 2003.
Okay.
But it might have been into 2004.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, that was in the wake of the Great White Fire in Providence, Rhode Island, and where there was a crackdown from fire marshals and kind of overall permitting and accessibility. Things had to get, the smell had arrived on the map of the man and had to come up to code.
So my ignorance of that led to me like, LA needs like something DIY.
Always, yeah. That's incredible. It's so funny. Yeah, my wife is from Erie, or her family's from Erie, Pennsylvania. So we've gone back there many times.
Know that,
yeah. That's so funny. What a funny connection. So, and what were you doing with Larry Flint? What was that connection? Were you writing for the magazine?
I did some writing for the magazine, but I was his personal assistant, and then I was his like legal affairs liaison. I was dealing with Paul Cambria, and who was played by Edward Norton in the films.
How did you get involved in that? What was
People
that
versus Larry Flint?
What was that? How did that happen? That just sounds like a wild rabbit hole.
I thought I was getting a job at a men's adult magazine that was a gay men's adult magazine, which would be more my speed. Mm-hmm. And it was a Hustler. And I was like, oh yeah, I saw that movie 4 times. And that Milos Forman movie.
Sure.
So I was pretty psyched because he was a big hero of mine. I don't know if I ever would have applied for that if I knew what it was. It was sort of like one of those, it's such a bygone era where they would put job ads in like the LA Weekly and LA Times, and you would circle things and then send them a letter.
Okay.
Very weird.
Interesting.
Yeah, like no one does that anymore.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I helped him run for governor, and we came in 5th. I ran his governor campaign in 2003. And Arnold tipped us off that he was going to announce. And so we knew when Arnold was going to announce. So we announced about 24 hours ahead of that. And
the circus. This is, welcome to Hollywood. Here you go. You're here.
Welcome to Hollywood.
A year, boots on the ground, and you're running for governor, putting together a gubernatorial campaign against the Terminator. How wild can that be? And establishing live shows. So tell me about, so you see that there's a void that needs to be filled for live DIY music. And what do you do? What's your first sort of response to that? Or how do you start to make inroads to fill that void?
I mean, I think Liz could talk about it from a local's perspective of what the landscape was like. We had certain things in common, places we were going, like the Parlor Club, right? Vaginal Cream Davis was doing amazing things there. Don Bowles and Howie Pyro had a night there. Club Screwball. There was some really cool stuff going around town that I really idolized. It's just that it was happening in this like bar environment, which I don't know about you, but after I had been exposed to like a DIY venue, like at Speak in Tongues, I was never into bars again. Bars always seem like such a ripoff because you go and you pay money to get in, then you have to pay money for a drink. And like, it's all about
commerce
stuff. Yeah. And when you go to a show in an art gallery or a DIY space, it's more about the experience. That was just my, anything I'm telling you about this is my perspective from that time, right? I don't want to deny people who work at venues fair wage. I'm back to now, like, hey, wherever it is, it's fine. I'm going to go there. But at that time, I was like, man, I don't want to be double charged. Like you already charged me to get in. Now I got to pay for water and stuff like that. Like, so screw that. I forgot what the question was, but that's sort of, I was seeing things around town that I really liked. And I was like, what if we could pull that out of the bars and put it in a DIY space? Also, Hollywood has a great tradition of club nights, right? LA does in general, where promoters, they set up the night and then they bring in different entertainment every week. But it's a streamlined way to promote things because you don't have to necessarily work that hard at promoting every single act. You just promote the night and you get people used to coming to the night and they come back. And it's just incremental publicity as you go along. Mm-hmm. And that was something that, like when I went to the Smell or Speak in Tongues when I was in Cleveland, like they had trouble with that because people be like, when's the next show? And they'd be like, oh, it's next Tuesday, I think. And like, oh no, wait a minute. No, the band's coming on Thursday. Like nobody knew what the hell was going on. Right. And I think that the club way of promoting, but in a DIY context, I thought at the time, oh, this is going to be really cool. This is really going to work. And it did. It totally worked.
That's so cool. Yeah. I mean, Liz, from your perspective, how did you sort of see the birth of this and sort of paint the picture for people who were not there of what this was like?
Well, I think there were like a few things happening in Los Angeles at that period of time. And I was DJing through a good chunk of it and writing for the weekly for a good chunk of it and for other publications too. But that's like the local one that I was mostly writing for. One is that I think in the early years of this century, we started to see venues shift from being largely 18 and over to largely 21 and over. So then when that happens, you have a lot of people who don't really have a place to go. And another thing too, particular to that first decade of the century, is the onslaught of celebrity-oriented parties, and really kind of like the start of rapid gentrification that we've been seeing since then. So a lot of what was happening in Hollywood and in West Hollywood was getting priced out of those neighborhoods. People couldn't really go out there anymore if they were not, Lindsay Lohan, or trying to find a celebrity, So we had all these things happening. Parties started to move towards the eastern side of Hollywood and in Silver Lake and in Echo Park. And then, we would see the situation repeat, but that doesn't come until like later. But so you're kind of like having a sort of like a dearth of places where normal LA people could go out, particularly young Angelenos, at least in comparison to what was happening in the 90s.
Tell me a little bit about that. What do you mean? Like the kind of the coffee shop scene of the 90s, the Jabberjaws, the
coffee shop scene, but also, I mean, your dance clubs were mostly 18 and over.
I see.
Like I went out a ton. By the time I I was graduating high school, my friends were going and I were going out like pretty much every night of the week because we could get into most places. There were like Spaceland was like the place you couldn't get into, and that was almost it.
It was like Fay Dodo or Cafe Blue. These kind of
Cafe
things.
Blue we went to all the time. I DJ'd at Coven 13 when I was like a sophomore in college. That was like my first DJ gig. I was. And all of us were starting pretty young because we could get into these places. It wasn't a big deal.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. And then Kyle, how do you first fit into this picture? Were you going to these Monday nights, or did you know Sean before that, or how did you get wrapped up?
No, I started going to the shows. I think when I was there the last time, we figured out that the first one I went to would have been like the third or fourth one that he did, something like that, in like the end of summer 2005. So yeah, I started going then because I had already been going to shows at Il Corral and The Smell at that point, like seeing like Wives and such.
Yeah. I was there.
Yeah, exactly. As a high schooler and stuff. So yeah, when I started going to the Monday shows at Il Corral, I would have just graduated high school. So I was 18. And then, I started helping doing stuff like at the end of 2005, like doing sound and like booking things and all that. So when I was, like 18,
That's incredible. So you are the titular teenager that Liz was speaking of, that had nowhere to go and nothing to do, and Sean was creating the space for the teenager that was Kyle Mabson at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I wish I could take credit for creating that space. That was not my intention. I was already 31, so I was really hoping 30-year-olds would show up. And they did for about 2 weeks. And then they were like, screw this. We're not sharing like a hole in the ground bathroom with like Mondo Video.
This is Il Corral, Bob Bellarue.
We are not, we are not going to this grungy ass former sweatshop. And all these young people started showing up, and that was really not part of my plan. And I just wanted to keep going. So it kind of forced me to keep an open mind. And, Kyle's a prime example of somebody I probably never would have met or mixed it up with. We probably would have been at the same shows, but who knows if we ever would have talked. Kyle was pretty forward. Kyle, I hope you don't mind if I tell a story. He was very critical of me. He would come up to me at the show, and the only way like a teenager can, and be like, "You're doing this all wrong." And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And he's like, the music. He's like, you can't play indie rock in between these bands. He's like, it sucks, man. It's a bummer. And am I capturing this right, Kyle?
Well, I remember. So I was telling it when we did the thing like 2 weeks ago or whatever. Of like, I remember going to one of the big all-day festivals that Bob would be doing at Il Corral. There would be like a noise festival, or there'd be like 25 like noise acts playing, and like in between each act he'd be like playing like noise music on the fucking PA. And
relentless.
I would like, and I would watch, like, he'd be playing it through the PA and everyone would be quiet as a dude would be setting up on the ground because they thought he was playing.
Oh.
But it was just the music that Bob was playing. And then people would like applaud when the track ended, but it was just like a track playing, but no one knew the difference because it was just like nonstop. And it was like, you can't just have this going all the time. You got to like mix it up and like have something totally on the like opposite end of the spectrum to like differentiate and like kind of like mix up the vibe a little bit.
That's so interesting, but such an observable note from somebody who's enjoying being there, but wanting to see the differentiation and sort of draw the lines around, frame each act in the best light as possible, in music selection.
Living in Cleveland, where we did not have the wide talent pool that Southern California has to draw from, bills were very, very mixed up, right? It was not unusual to see a heavy metal band and a punk band and a goth band and something electronic all on the same bill. And when I came to LA, you would go to these shows and it would be like, if it had a punk band on it, you would have 3 punk band openers. If you went to see an electronic act, you would have only electronic openers. It was really boring, Randy. LA in that way did not rise to my expectations of what life in a big city would be. It was actually narrower. It was like, okay, every show had a defined genre and thou shalt not blur the lines. And so I think, even though I was shocked when Kyle's like, you're doing it all wrong, I like, okay, I'm going to listen to this kid because at least he's saying, let's mix it up. And that's what I was trying to do with the bills. And he was trying to mix it up further with the music. And, I'm grateful I somehow kept an open mind back then, because what Kyle did ended up becoming a major hallmark of what Monday Nights was, which was 90s mom jam retro dance party rave between all the bands. And it kept everybody loose.
That's so fun.
And
didn't take it too serious.
It didn't take it too serious. Yeah. And we had a freaking dance party every night.
Yeah, that's huge.
It also, it was reflective of the times too. I mean, Liz can take this one, I think, but Randy, do you remember MP3 blogs? That was the era of that. That was the era of like downloading tracks, ripping tracks.
Yeah. I mean, and so the idea of sort of breaking down categorization and just all things, the flattening of even criticism in a way, it was curated, right? These blogs were curatorial, but Liz, how do you sort of see that impact on the kind of the culture? What impact did the MP3 download explosion have in live music and live culture in LA at that time?
Well, I think it was, it wasn't as curated to the extent that it is now. You don't have, you know, an algorithm telling you what you should be listening to next.
It's
So
prescriptive now versus a kind of loosey goosey, like I like these 5 records, and now it's almost a jackbooted sort of like shoveling of content into your face that you can't really escape from.
right. Well, and another thing is that like there is more of an emphasis on the artist as like a cult of personality. You know, it's like your socials have to go basically go viral or go home is the phrase that I always use
now.
And
yeah.
Whereas with like the MP3 blog, you were relying on the tastes of the person presenting it. It was just sort of, to me, the MP3 blog was really like where music media should have been going, but the corporate owned publications were really slow to go online. Even alternative media where I worked, you know, when I started working at LA Weekly, we were kind of getting the ball rolling. And that was one of my jobs, was getting the ball rolling on like the social media presence. You know, everybody was really slow on that. And the MP3 blogs weren't.
Yeah, I mean, and you bring up a good point. I mean, this all this era we're talking about, the early to mid aughties was pre-social media, and you know, specifically relating to the art show that you have. I mean, your nights were documented. Like, was there a thought at the time, Sean? I mean, you've released a documentary. You seem to be of mind to sort of, you know, maybe it was you had a few more years and you had come from another scene to where it's like, you know, I always think about like the best American films are made by the Europeans that came over, you know, in post-war. They were able to see what was good about America that America couldn't see themselves, you know, documenting the deserts and the cities and the things. But I mean, so for being an outsider from Southern California, did you have a thought or a mind to like, this needs to be documented? I mean, how were you able to curate, or how were you able to cultivate such a large collection of photos? This was the camera wasn't on the phone then. This was real film. Tell me a little bit about that, or early digital film.
Okay, I'll give you a winding answer, but I'll answer your question. Like,
it was a winding question.
Very first things
winding answer would be appropriate.
It was a winding, no, but it's a good one. It's a good one. It's solid. So let me just see if I can pull some threads together. So one thread is one of the very first things I did and I don't even know if I've ever told you or Kyle this story, but like when I first came to California, I went with somebody that I worked with at Hustler, and we went to a Ruka party, and Ruka was kind of still undergrad at that point. It was being DJ'd by the guys from Kids, the movie from like 1995. Yeah. They were already having like some kind of 10-year moment, and this
was probably curated by Aaron Rose and Brendan Fowler and
yes. Yeah. Brendan Fowler. Yes, exactly. And I'm like, I know Brendan. He actually invited me. I knew him from when we had visited the Smell before I lived here. Yeah. And so it was, he invited me, and I went with somebody from Hustler, and we went down there. And Randy, I went into this area where they were having the party, and I looked around, and I was like, holy shit. There were like, and I'm not even exaggerating, like 2,000 cool kids there. If you had gone in Ohio, you probably couldn't find 2,000 cool kids in like the entire state. And here they were just hanging out, right? And so if you're talking about people coming in from outside and recognizing, that was something that was immediately recognizable to me, that there was every flavor of cool here, that these kids were so diverse and they were all so on top of their game, like as far as these things that they were interested in and these networks they were plugged into, these circles of friends that they had. I mean, they were all just geniuses, and I felt very in awe of everyone. And I knew that there was a story to tell here. I've always been interested in like Andy Warhol and the factory, and the idea that, you know, you create your own celebrities. And on a surface thing, which is Andy Warhol said, you know, I'm all about there's nothing behind this. It's all surface, right? Like Andy Warhol, there actually is a lot of depth there. It was a smart idea to be vertically integrated, right? It's something he took from manufacturing, you're hosting your own parties, creating your own celebrities, documenting it with your own media. And, I still fancied myself some sort of Andy Warhol. I could if I documented this, now a little bit older, I still buy into that theory, but from a more philosophical standpoint, which is that you were talking earlier about putting the flag in the ground. It is about putting the flag in the ground. The things that we say are meaningful in life are meaningful, right? Like if you invest meaning in something, and so I think with Monday nights from the beginning, it was like investing meaning into this thing. There's obviously a lot of us here that are into underground culture, different flavors of it. But if we could come together, we can make our own scene, we can make our own celebrities, and we can invest meaning into this thing.
It's so interesting. So, I mean, it's a great perspective, I think that, and it's cool. Cause I think I struggle being local, seeing the forest for the trees. I think there was absurd moments in my life where I'm like, I better take a picture of this because I don't think this is ever going to happen again. But outside of that, most of the time it was just like, I don't know. That was just a Friday, not to be glib or like to shelter, but again, there's just a feeling of like, I don't know, this is just growing up here. This is just what it is. Like some weird person. I think they're a movie star now. I think I knew that person once. Now they're over here. Okay. Just sort of, I guess that's just how life is. Isn't that like life everywhere? And not really being aware of it or thinking of any way to sort of, because we didn't have this personal branding siloing of social media. It didn't seem like, the Voice or even podcasting now, but I want to touch on the LGBTQ sort of diversity that also existed in this scene that I think was something that was at the time, was a marked difference, I think, versus a place like the Smell, which was certainly not didn't have a stance on one way or the other, and it wasn't closed, but it didn't necessarily have a promotion of it as well. I mean, what can you speak a little bit about that, Sean, and just sort of how you found that night and sort of how you found that culture and how was it in sort of presenting that? Was there thought to that, or was it, what was your perspective like in that world? In terms of putting on the Monday nights and sort of having a crossover and diversity being featured.
I think it's too bad John San Nicholas isn't here today. He was closer to the age group of the people that were attending, right? Mm-hmm. And I know that was really important to him. And he met a lot of young queer people at the Smell and at other places. But you're right, that was not really a primary like LGBT hangout. Mm-hmm. I think we became that just because we were two gay guys, right? I'm not sure we did anything particular to encourage it. We did have this thing called Totally Gay Night, which probably Kyle remembers and Liz has heard some people talk about. Totally Gay Night was so fun, and it was very well attended by LGBT for like 2 out of the 4 times we did it. By the third party, it was all straight people wanting to be gay. And that was the other thing. It was an eye opener for me. Like in LA, I was like, oh my God, there are all these straight people who wish they were gay, and they would come dressed up and like in drag and all this crazy stuff. And, it was the music Kyle was playing was also kind of dance oriented. So it fit like straight people's idea of like, oh, this is kind of gay. I can like dance around and be myself. And it was really liberating for people. I remember John and I, and also Margot Padilla, who performed as IE, she did this thing called Totally Mag, which was like a fake celebrity gossip zine. And because that was the era of celebrity gossip, she was one of the people behind these parties too. I remember me, Margot, and John had a discussion after like the 4th Totally Gay Night. We're like, there's no one gay here except for us. We need to stop doing these parties.
That is so interesting. I mean, it was definitely, I think, I've spoken a lot about this time, and I'm by the time this has come out, I will have wrapped up my month of the Smell and sort of me looking back at that time. And so I've had a lot of belly button scratching and, consideration about this time. And I think there was something, that post 9/11, right? You know, I think the New York East Coast has been sort of documented of the music and the party scene that came out of that, and sort of some of the philosophical, cultural, you know, sort of idea of if the world's burning, we're gonna party while it burns. Or, you know, it was the hedonism, it was the cocaine, it was the pendulum swinging from the heroin 90s to the cocaine aughts, and Los Angeles had such a huge bursting sort of scene of a lot of young people and a lot of music and a lot of just creativity happening. I mean, obviously Monday night was part of that scene and shaped it in so many ways. I'm just sort of curious, looking back now on these, you know, 20 years, like is there insights that you sort of see why the whys and hows and the nuts and bolts that, you know, in hindsight, that you saw that this thing worked the way it did?
I'd love to throw to both Liz and Kyle. I'll just say that, you know, I was really idealistic at the time. And besides Andy Warhol, I also like this guy, Peter Lamborn Wilson, Hakeem Bey, he had this idea about temporary autonomous zone, which is that, you know, when like-minded people come together and they create a party, right? It's the ultimate anarchist event. And so, there's definitely a way to look at these Monday nights from like a party scene aspect, and I won't deny they are a party scene, but it was a party scene with like maybe like a deeper dimension to it, which was that within that party, at just within that party, it was an anarchist zone too, you know, impervious to rules and of the outside world, and so. You know, that's something that differentiated us from like Star Shoes or Beauty Bar or these things that were going on in Hollywood with like Steve Aoki, which were totally fun, but also that cocaine crazy Y2K post 9/11 thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, Liz, what do you think of, you know, what the trends were and the meanings?
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily specific to the aughts, because I mean, I am old enough to have been going out in the end of the 90s and was young and at that point in time, and by today's standards probably too young to be able to get into most of the places, most venues. But I think what changed is that the city got more expensive. And not only did it get more expensive to go out, but when you have like redevelopment in such a way where you now have to park in a lot, you can't park on the street anymore because there's no street parking left, and all those prices go up. And at the same time, you're kind of being pushed towards using ride shares, which is fine. I use them all the time, but those prices, especially post-pandemic, have skyrocketed. So now it's just, now you're in a city where is to an extent prohibitively expensive to be able to go out or to do more than one thing in one night. And at the same time, when you have like a housing crisis, that also means that there's less places for people to practice, fewer places for people to do stuff, fewer places for people to make an event that is affordable. And that does put a damper on things. However, despite that, I do not think that still DJ all the time. I see people who are now young enough to be my kid going out all the time. And I don't think that has it's not that young people aren't going out. I think, and it's not that young people aren't making music. They definitely are. I've seen them play live. And they're forming bands. It's not all just stuff that you make at home and put on the internet and that's it. It's just that there's fewer places to play, fewer places to go out. And now we don't even have like a media environment where they're going to get any sort of recognition for what they're doing.
Meaning the follower count or the big sort of virality moment has taken over the place of priority rather than just a wild night out. If no photos or it didn't happen kind of thing, like that if it's not documented, if you're not getting a big social media bump, then what's the point of doing it? Is that?
Well, no, it's just that nobody knows it exists.
Oh, I see.
It's like we don't have an alternative weekly anymore.
Right.
We don't even have much in the way of any kind of online media that's not, a quote unquote influencer, on TikTok or on Instagram. So it's like if a tree falls in the forest and nobody did it really happen?
I just played that show last Saturday. No, it didn't happen. I was there, but no one came. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting sort of, look at what we had versus what we have now. I mean, I'm just curious, Kyle, as probably the younger person on all of this, like what, looking back 20 years, why do you think it all worked? Was it just because you were magical and you made it happen?
I think it was just like, it was very much a time where it was like, it didn't, people weren't going places to get, their picture in front of something, right. Or like you were just going because it was like, oh, this is a good time. Fuck it. Why not? I'm going to go have a good time. And in living that, that's all it was. It wasn't like, it wasn't thinking about like, oh, am I going to get some followers from this? Mm-hmm. I need to like record this video or like take this to like get this. Like, it was just like, and it was like such a wild thing that, Sean would take all these pictures every time because no one was doing that because it didn't matter. And even looking at those, like at the art show and stuff, it's like so many of these, like the people in them aren't thinking about their angles in these pictures or like trying to get the right thing because it didn't matter.
Facial
like that
maxing.
Wasn't a thing. What was that, Sean?
Facial maxing.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't. Yeah. Oh, there you go.
I have kids.
Look at that.
I have almost teen kids, preteens.
Yeah, he could pull out the Rizzler move. Mm-hmm. It's cool. There you go. Yeah, so it wasn't as much thought into that. So I, in some ways, I feel weird for the youth now that they don't have that ability to just be youth and not fucking worry about shit like that all the time, nonstop.
Just vibe.
Yeah, just vibe. And also have some like weirdo stuff to go to and be making weirdo stuff and not, have to like worry about it so much like they do now. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's great that you had the documentation sort of eye for it, Sean, and even in the curatorial eye as well. Putting it together. I mean, one person I would love to talk. I think we just missed her, and I mean, there was many luminaries that graced the Monday night stage, and that you helped put a frame around. But the one Miss Karen Centerfold. I was told I just missed her that night when we were there, and I would love to at least just touch on her because in the preceding years since then, I have had so many questions and just inquiries to friends like, is she okay? What was this? There were so many stories, and she was such a scene stealer. She would.
The answer is no, but that's of all time.
Okay,
is she okay? No, okay. But never.
I mean, it's her story to tell. I'm just more curious from your perspective, Sean or Liz or I mean, can we touch on Karen just for a minute because she stands out so large in my memory for so many obvious reasons. But tell me from your perspective. Yeah, what was your perspective and how was she involved and how did you sort of find her and her presence and performance?
Remember a few years ago how Fox News was so hell-bent on proving Antifa was real? Remember that? Remember Antifa?
Sure. Yeah, sure. Black Bloc. Yeah.
Remember during Black Lives Matter, Antifa was like, we don't hear about it much now, but 4 years ago, Antifa, like you couldn't turn on conservative media with that.
Oh, right. Or making it sound like it was a united thing, like it was a one-headed beast that could be talked about versus a philosophy of many young people and a way of life or something. Yeah.
I am here. If there's anyone who's full blown MAGA who's listening to this, I'm going to blow your mind right now. Antifa is real. And I met Karen leading Antifa on the streets of Hollywood during the Iraq war protests, sort of like Marianne with like the French resistance behind her with like the flag. She was her and a bunch of guys dressed in black, like charging at the LAPD, and that's how I met her. And, she's always played true to type, right? She's an agitator. She's a groovy scenester from San Francisco. She's reputed to be a former centerfold model. I don't know in what magazines, but she has some glamour 8x10s, which have been much Xeroxed, and she will share them with you. She when she doesn't have something to protest, she's down at the Venice Drum Circle ordering people around, the place where they go to be free and play their drums, and she's telling them what to do. She's just always sort of been like that. And when she heard that after meeting me at the anti-war rallies, she and knowing that it was near Hollywood, she's like, I'm there. And she was, you see that picture of her with her friend on like night number 1, and there she is. And she was at the gallery opening. You missed her by just a couple hours. She was threatening the gallery owner if they didn't let her perform a song, and
it's also crazy that you missed her because she got there. The thing started the thing started at 4:00, and I think she was there at 4:02. And then she came and then would leave and then come back throughout the whole course of that 4 hours, like multiple times.
Yeah, we had our 2 young boys who were very excited about the plethora of cheap plastic toys in the rest of Chinatown, and were not as interested in mom and dad reliving their youth from 20 years ago.
Fair.
It was a good ship us in the night thing because she was being very disruptive while she was there. She kept saying, "Why won't you let me play a song?" And I was like, "Well, it's not a venue. We're not a show. Doing it's not a show."
You should have let her. You should have let her.
Wow.
Closing at the closing.
It might happen this weekend. She'll elbow poor John Phil out of the way, and look at Liz.
It's incredible. I mean, in closing, I would just want to, I would like to just sort of everyone go around and just sort of, call out some of their favorite memories and sort of what the sort of the hope is, from that, like moving forward, or where do we go with this? I mean, is it all just looking back? Is there a message to be taken into the future? What are some of the lessons learned, favorite memory and the lessons to pass on? You want to go first, John?
No, I'll go.
Liz. Okay. What do you think? I mean, what were some of your favorite memories of these Monday nights, and what do you think there is to sort of, to what do we all learn from it and take forward?
I mean, it's kind of a blur. But I would say like, I think probably, I mean, just like the shows, some of the performers that stood out, like Anna Van and like D. Benny, all of his stuff was always really fun. Birth was one of my favorites, and he's sadly no longer with us. So that's mostly what I remember. I'm not really one for nostalgia. I kind of find the time to be more interesting than, because it's a huge shift because first of all, because there is documentation of it that hasn't been swallowed by the internet, which is kind of how this whole project got started. But, we're talking about basically the mid-aughts to the mid-teens. This is a really significant period of time in terms of changing technology and how we communicate. And it kind of brings us from, it brings us literally from like the middle of the Bush years and to the start of the Trump era. So there's just a lot happening in this period. And I kind of hope that, people take away something from it more than just, this looks cool or this looks like it was fun or something like that, and really start to think about all of these political and socio and economical shifts that were happening and the technological shifts that were happening during this period and how that kind of brings us up to today.
That's great. Kyle, what were some of your favorite memories and what did we take forward?
Oh, so many memories. I remember a real hot jock pit set at Pearspace one time.
Yes, that's what I was trying to tell Sean. It was called Jock Pit, and John kept telling me it was
it Jock Pit or Cockpit?
It was Jock Pit.
It changed every time we played. It changed. I remember it was Cockpit.
Okay.
I remember it was Jock Pit, and I remember it was Rock Pit at one point.
That sounds right. Okay, maybe it was a little bit
I
more.
think it was ever changing.
Well,
It was Cockpit. It was Cockpit
the
Monday
night.
night.
Okay, good. Okay,
That sounds right.
Yeah. Well, just for the listeners at home, Kyle, you and our good friend Josh Taylor, you told me you were gonna start a band called the New No Age, and I think that was just at the point in my life where I was starting to feel like, is this band No Age getting a little too out of our hands, meaning that we were very fortunate to have some windfalls and some luck on our side and tour and get to do things that we never thought we'd get to do, but then without really considering the ramifications of whatever that minor celebrity would be on the local scene. And I was like, oh shit, I think they're making fun of us. And I was like, but I don't think we're big enough to even be made fun of anymore. I don't think this even really works. But I was like, but we're friends. Can I? So my plan was to secretly like invade your band that was going to make fun of my band, and somehow make sure that we didn't look super foolish. And I don't know if it would make it look even more foolish if I was involved in it, or somehow help make fun of myself, because I never really believed. I had a hard time believing the hype because I knew what was happening and all the challenges we had. So I was just kind of thinking of like, oh no, is our weird band? Did we go too far? So I think I was nervous.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was necessarily a making fun of. It was a paying an homage.
Okay, well, I'm glad I was able to, but I loved jamming with you guys. It was still fun to play. I wanted to play more music.
So so that was a good time. And every other of the 45 other bands that I played in at those, and some of the shows that we did were really great, like that one like crazy one for my birthday that was the biggest Monday show of the entire run. Was such like a crazy thing.
The Meishi. That was the Meishi reunion.
The original lineup.
With
among
Ezra.
And like Biling and a bunch of other funny things. That was just like, I told people it was my birthday, so they'd have to do it or feel like they had to do it because of that. And then just like going forward, kids, you got to chill out. Just like, don't worry about stuff. Like, go to a thing, have fun. The social media ain't real. Just like, do your thing. Don't worry about that stuff.
That sounds great. And then Sean, bring us home. What were some of those highlighted memories? And then what did we take forward?
I go between the shows that were highly attended and the ones that nobody was at, right? Like we were talking about this We Gathered the other week, and somebody was saying 40 bands, 80 minutes. That's where we had 52 bands play, including you and Dean played 52 bands in 6 hours. They all played for 2 minutes. We made a little documentary out of it. And I think Brett Berg, who is in Anavan and Rib Bib and does Museum of Home Video now, and he was saying, I was just impressed that it worked, like I didn't take a pee break for like 6 hours. I was filming, holding this camera, and I'm impressed too, and I got to say that was really special to me. Those other big events like that too, like LA's Got Talent, which we did with Sam Lubitsch and Liam Morrison and Nika. and everyone, including Kyle. That was amazing, where we took over a gallery for a month, sort of like we're doing now, right? And inviting people in to have this experience with us. So it's great for people who can't stay up late and be there for show hours. And then also LA Lottery League, where we took bands and we broke them up and we put them into new combinations. I love these big community actions. I also really remember the shows that no one showed up for. I remember the first time Dan Deacon played. He brought half of Baltimore. There were more people in the bands that night than there were in the audience. He brought 21 people from Baltimore, and there were 9 people from LA in the audience. This was February 2007. Within a year, every single one of those Baltimore bands was being written about in Spin Magazine and on RollingStone.com and Pitchfork and stuff. But, Kyle booked them first. I booked them first. They were there. Or, so Monday nights was very scalable, right? We loved our big community events. I think those are iconic. But, if you went to a show that wasn't well attended, there's a chance that one was pretty iconic too. And I think that where they all meet is at this show and in the catalog, which I would love it if we could plug that.
Yeah.
Liz was instrumental in gathering the images from the show and also other images and putting it in context in this book called LA Scene of the Century.
Where is that available? How can people support this? We'll get the plugs in here too.
Yeah, if you go to SeanCarnage.com, there's a badge right on the front. SeanCarnage.com/shop. You can go right to it there. It's available online. It's 120 pages, 200 plus images, and a beautiful piece by Liz and also some other writers. Some words from myself as well, putting everything in context. There's full annotations for all the photos. So those big iconic shows and those shows where it felt very intimate, they're all kind of on the same level in there. And there's also a chronological listing of all the shows from 2005 to 2016. All the bands are represented, and also a good deal of the flyers too.
That's great. Yeah. And there'll be a link down in the show notes too. So everybody listening to this, you go down in the show notes, hit that link, go by. And what is it? What's the cost for the catalog?
It's $45 postage paid within the US.
That's amazing. What a great deal. It's incredible. 10 years of incredible shows, so meticulously cataloged. It's great. And then, moving forward, I mean, what's the message for the future? I mean, how do you take Monday nights, into the rest of your life and beyond? What do you think were the lessons learned?
I mean, for me, it's twofold, right? There are two messages here. One, to all the people that participated in this back in the day, it's that, we love you, and what our interactions mattered. It's just very elemental, and, the world is going through some really tough times. You're loved and you belong, and you can always keep that with you. You own that. And then the other message is, and we've seen this, right? If you follow my Instagram at Sean Carnage, you can, or if you follow at Les Min Space, the gallery website, we've been opening it in the evenings on Friday nights, while they do their techno rave night market in Chinatown, and all these young people are coming in and they're raving inside the exhibition, just like we used to have shows inside these Pear Space and Il Corral with artworks hanging on the wall, these art shows. They're doing exactly what we did back then inside our exhibit. So, I think that this ethos of community, dancing, art, gathering, it's timeless. It's even with social media. I'm going to strike a more slightly hopeful tone here. I really think that kids do understand that, especially young kids now understand that social media is not real. I think we've swung back around, and I think the time is ripe. Liz is seeing it at her DJ gigs. Let's get some nights started, man. Let's get some shit going. Because their kids will be there.
Yeah, I love it. And my takeaway too from the story and from kind of everything we've discussed is, be the change that you want to see. I mean, you were so enthusiastic and involved in your scene in Cleveland, and then coming to a new place rather than trying to be subsumed into a new town. You're like, no, this is what I'm bringing. I have something to bring to this. And you created the change and you created the space that you wanted to see exist. And to me, I think those are those kind of actions and that point of view that I think are so pivotal, in every generation, and I've seen it happen time and time. Every 4 years, there's a new sort of person carrying that flag again. I'll sort of use that metaphor of like planting the flag here. Like, this is the way I see it. And it's so needed. Every city needs it. Every scene needs it. Every neighborhood, every block, just somebody who's willing to say, everybody come over here. I got something going on. And it's not saying it's better than what you got going on. I'm not saying it's different and it's mine and everyone's invited. And I think that creates a huge impact. And there's a ripple, right? There's like a wave that can be seen from those kind of events and from people like you and the work that you've done and the parties that you threw. I mean, it wasn't all work. I mean, it was a lot of work, but there was a lot of fun too. And I think that's what's so great for me 20 years later or 15, 20, 10 years later, going back and seeing an event like this is just seeing that, like, it's, it was a great place to kind of gather all of these weirdos once again, only Sean Carnage can, and sort of, we're all there in the same four walls once again. And it's great. It was such an energizing, fun thing. And I really got to, my wife, Shannon, who listeners have heard on the show, she was so excited. Her photo was in that. And I felt like it was my time to really be the supportive husband. And like, I was like, I'm going to take the kids so you can really have this moment. This is your moment. And like, she was her band, was fortunate enough to play a few shows and be on the flyers. And it was so great for her to be that center of attention. I mean, I've had a lot of great experiences in my life and my music career, but this was hers and this was her moment. And I wanted to make sure we were supporting her for that night. And so I really loved being able to do that. And I think I was on dad duty that night. I was like, this isn't about me. This is about you, hon. Go get it. Go have fun and go do this. Cause it was so great, so I really appreciate you doing all that.
It's a pleasure and a privilege, and I wouldn't have done it if Liz hadn't encouraged me. And as an opportunity to get the band back together and get Kyle in there DJing, it's
amazing.
Come true.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on, Liz and Kyle. Where can people follow you? Where would you like people to, if they want to know more about where you're working on and how to find you and follow you?
Kyle.
You can go on my Instagram, I guess is the best place for me, which is selfies, food, and pets with an underscore between each word.
Awesome. What about you, Liz?
So I'm on Instagram at DJ_Liz_O. I have I have a blog that's updated like almost every day. It's Beatique, BEATIQUE.net. And that's about it. I'm kind of technically on other socials, but I don't really post too much.
Great. Okay. Well, I'll put links to those down in the show notes as well, so everyone can go out and keep up with what's happening into the future. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Long live Monday nights.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. All right.
Thanks a lot, Randy. Yeah. Really appreciate it.
Yes. Sean, Liz, Kyle, thank you so much for coming on. That was super fun. Thank you everybody for hanging in here and for going down memory road with us to those so many sweaty nights at Il Corral and Pear Space, filled with PBR and other cheap drinks and fun, loud, noisy, dancey parties. Man, 2005 to 2016. It doesn't sound that long ago, but that was definitely a few decades back now. Sean, thanks for documenting it all and for putting on such a great photo art show and also a great catalog. If you would like to see what all the fuss was about, go to SeanCarnage.com and under shop, you can buy the Monday Nights catalog. It's a great 120 page full color, awesome catalog. You won't regret it. Go do it now. There is a link in the show notes right there from your phone. You can click on it, purchase it, and you will love it. It was a great time, and it was not online. It was not on social media. It just happened in real life. I can't believe that was, we didn't know it at the time, but the world was about to change in so many ways. And we were just there dancing to goofy jams that Kyle was DJing and having the time of our life. But Sean knew it was something special, and he took pictures, and he knew in 20 years that an art show and a catalog would be appreciated by all who attended, and even those who didn't. So go get your hands on it. Also, go follow Kyle and Liz on their respective Instagrams and keep up with them. See what they're doing. They're going to be DJing. They're going to be playing. They're going to be writing. They're going to be making art. They're going to be doing great things in the world. You do not want to miss it. And next week, we will return to our regularly scheduled month of smelly memories, all celebrating the third year kickoff for the third year of the Hyphenate pod. I love everybody. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being great. Thank you for being here. You can write me hyphenatehalftime@gmail.com. You can also find me on the IG gram. It's at Randy S. Randall. And let's have fun. If you were there, let me know. What were your favorite memories of the Monday nights? Or is your general aughtie memories? If you were in kindergarten, tell me what kind of glue stick you used to eat. And I'll see you on Monday when Farley and I unpack all of this on our so important, so crucial, so necessary halftime show. All right. See you then.
'90s mom jam retro dance party rave between all the bands, and it kept everybody loose. It didn't take it too serious, and we had a freaking dance party every night.